My first experience with mental health, I believe I experienced in my late teens. I don't know that I necessarily recognised it. It was after quite significant trauma. I think that the recognition came in my late 20s, which probably was post a divorce. Mm-hmm. And it's when I realised that I was self-sabotaging relationships quite significantly. And then to try and fix that pain, I was then self-medicating. I also realised that my brain thought a little different. I've always kind of sat to the left or felt like I thought outside the box, and I didn't quite understand what that meant for me. So that's when I sought help. Definitely the lowest point aligned to my mental illness was not being able to take control of my situation and blaming everybody else. So my diagnosis is anxiety, PTSD and bipolar. And I used to blame everybody else or the illness. So if I got into trouble, if I went out and I didn't control my anger, it was the bipolar did that though. I've got an illness, so I did that because of that reason. And it was never the fact that, it took a long time for me to understand that actually I made a choice no matter what an illness is or where it is or where I'm at in control with that. I still made a choice every single day. So for me to improve my mental health, I decided I needed to take it by the horns. I'm a pretty controlled person. I've got a big personality. When I turned 30, I'm 32 now, so when I turned 30 I took myself to the Himalayas and I made a pact with myself over 3 weeks to climb the mountain, and I did Annapurna Delegary. So going up the mountain I had to let go of all the grief and trauma that I'd been through, and coming down the mountain I needed to ensure I came up with a plan for myself that I could also pass on to others to ensure they never felt the same lack of support or understanding that I did. And that actually resulted in a charity that I'm a co-founder of, which is Get Real Conscious Impact, and we're heavily involved in exercise education programs for mental health. 100% for me it is exercise and sleep. My stresses I've identified really come down to those sort of lack of either of those. It's really quite obvious in my behaviour. And I think just understanding that you've got to run your own race. So you're in your lane and everybody else is in theirs, and they run different, they wear their different shoes, they wear their different outfits, and that's totally fine. But if you run your race and just understand to control that, I think you find a sense of ease in not trying to compare or not trying to take on everybody else's sort of input on that. I would definitely remind myself that I am a smart and educated woman and that there's nothing to fear in taking control of a situation. Everything about every one of us makes us an individual, and it brings its own little superpowers, I think. Whether you're experiencing anxiety, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, etc., you have different symptoms and signs, and if you can turn them into a positive way, you can kind of really achieve great, endless sort of capabilities with that. My message of hope with mental health issues, I think my message of hope is definitely around the fact that you do have to run your own race, and that to remember that if you have an ability to acknowledge where you're at, you then have a duty of care to yourself to ensure that you do your best. And if you can be your best, you leave a legacy for everybody who follows you. Certainly for me, that's what my life is. I've got 3 young boys, and I understand that every day when I wake up, if I don't do my best and be my best, I'm giving them an excuse to not live up to their true potential as well. And that's kind of my driver for everything that I do now.